Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrient Ag Solutions. I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Well, there's no doubt about it. When you look back over the last 10 days and honestly over much of summer and even back towards spring, this has been the temperature pattern that we have seen. Over our last 10 days before this pattern broke, we saw temperatures ranging between 10 and in some locations approaching 20 degrees warmer than average, while the Pacific Northwest and the North Central United States was very, very cold. Well, it is the evolution of this pattern that we need to be discussing in this video as to what it means for our precipitation patterns in the near term. But just take a look at what that pattern did to us in terms of percent of normal rainfall. There are parts of the Southeast and parts of the Carolinas that have gone the month without rainfall. And this is a critical time of year as we finish up so much of our growing season here to be getting that last little bit of rainfall that we need. Well, the question is anything changing in the near term to bring that rainfall in? Well, showing you the latest drought monitor update, we did see degradation of drought in several areas. First of all, much of the Southeast here, kind of this corridor between the Mississippi and the Ohio rivers and points to the southeast of those two boundaries, certainly picking up a lot of drier conditions. So you need to see the nearby states and some of the drought we're dealing with. Also, the drought in this part of Texas got worse. Places that it improved, well, parts of the Pacific Northwest, but that's about as far away from us here in the Carolinas as we can get. So the question is, again, are we going to be getting some rainfall finally moving into our area? Well, we talked in last week's video about this weekend and the beginning of this week being our best chances here in the near term. And as a low pressure center went through the north central part of the U.S., by the time we got into the day on Sunday and early Monday morning, its boundary was kind of stalled right in through this area. Now, it did locally bring some heavy rainfall amounts in parts of the Appalachian Mountains there in Tennessee, and then back over here near the Ozarks when we get into this part of Missouri, Arkansas, and eastern Oklahoma with some locally heavy rainfall amounts. But you can see over the weekend, much of us here in the Carolinas did not see much in the way of rainfall, just a few hit or miss showers and storms there, more the farther south you go there in North Carolina. Well, throughout the day today, what we'll be watching is a boundary that will be stretching here from Maine, getting back into parts of Mississippi. So this is in the day on Monday. That will be our first chance. And behind this, higher atmospheric pressure is building, and that's going to help to push this frontal boundary toward us here. But the main show throughout much of this week is going on here way off the page in the northwest. So let's at least take a moment here to kind of see what we're anticipating in terms of rainfall as we progress through the morning hours on Monday. So this is 10 a.m. Monday. You can see widely scattered showers and storms ahead of that main frontal boundary here, focused primarily along the coast. So we are feeding in some moisture into this boundary, and so we could expect to see some widely scattered showers and storms today throughout much of the Carolinas. The frontal boundary doesn't do its best for us here. You can see it kind of fizzling out in the overnight hours on Monday, getting into Tuesday morning. So what it looks like is to begin this week, our chances of precipitation for the most part are below about the 30% chance. So a lot of hit or miss stuff, some locally heavy rain because the atmosphere is juiced up. It's got plenty of moisture in it. But the big organized feature that we're going to be watching this week that gives us our next chance of rainfall is actually sweeping down here through the north central plains by the time we get into midday on Wednesday. So the flow pattern is going to tell us everything, okay? One of the big differences that we've just seen change is this. You see, we had spent so much time this year with a broader trough like this and a big ridge over the southeast. We are now starting to swing troughs through the flow of the atmosphere coming through Canada, and they have a trajectory that is causing them to dig before lifting on off toward the north and east. And that is going to be our big pattern change for temperatures and also usher in our first real chance at a big winter storm in the midsection of the country, which folks in the Carolinas need to pay attention to, especially our corn and soybean farmers. And this is what I mean. This front right here by Monday evening, this trough is going to start sweeping through Canada, getting into the northwest by Tuesday night, Wednesday morning emerging on the Great Plains, such that by Thursday, we're now dealing with a very deep low pressure center that's going to be moving here through the north central United States. Now, why is this significant for us in the Carolinas? Well, at the same time that this system is forming, we are watching a low pressure center sit and spin just off the east coast. So this could be bringing in some coastal showers, but overall, this advancing front and the ridge that is just to the east of it, well, that trough and front is going to push everything on offshore with time here, keeping this coastal low well away from the coast. But in this trough, deep area of cold air and a lot of snow that could potentially be coming down with this. Now here's another change I want you to see. What we're looking at here is an animation over the next 15 days of precipitable water. Normally this time of year when we see the southeast and parts of the Carolinas starved for moisture, what we get is a big ridge that sits up over the southeast, and you're not seeing that. As I just played this forward, do you notice how we just keep getting waves of moisture that keep coming in, and that means that over the coming days and weeks we're going to increase our chances of getting some precipitation. Let's at least take a look at what that means here in the near term. So getting us through the day on Monday into Tuesday, let me wind that back for you here. Here we go. This is Monday afternoon into the evening hours on Monday. So you can see why these scattered showers and storms before higher atmospheric pressure tries to build in throughout the day on Tuesday getting into Wednesday. Our coastal low starts to take shape. And again, like I said, some widely scattered showers here, but not much. But look at the storm system really blowing up here in the midsection of the United States. And as it does so, our problem for the Carolinas is this upper level low becomes stacked. In other words, the upper level low sits right on top of the surface low, stalling this out. And the problem is that doesn't bring this boundary sweeping through all the way to the coast. It kind of just sits there, well, as we've seen so many times, and kind of breaks up as it goes over parts of the Carolinas. So that is problem kind of number one. We wanted some of that moisture to get through just to help improve our soil moisture content as we get into fall and winter here, but it seems to not want to do that. So about the only benefit we get out of this is it helps us stay away from the extremely high temperatures, but doesn't bring in a lot of precipitation. Now, I'm getting way out here in the forecast. This is Tuesday the 15th. We do see that getting into next week, our chances for precipitation do increase. But I at least want to tell you what I'm anticipating in terms of temperatures, and we need to talk about what that system is going to be doing in terms of snowfall as well. So first, since the temperature impact will be the biggest one for us in the southeast and in the Carolinas, let's just play out what the NBM is going to show us over the next 9 days. Here we go. In the day on Monday, highs in the low 80s, upper 70s. We see that as we progress through the week on Tuesday, as that front gets closer, now we're talking about temperatures here in North Carolina that are in the upper 60s, lower 70s at times, but warmer as you get closer to the coast. We hang out there Wednesday into Thursday as well. A lot of low to mid 70s. Beautiful week here. But look at the cold temperatures. These are highs. Cold temperatures tucked away here in this upper level trough as it sweeps through. And as it does so, look at how that front advances, bringing 60s all the way here into parts of, Mississippi, Alabama. We get a little bit of a warm up out ahead of this on Saturday with temperatures climb back up into the upper 70s, but it does cool things back off into the low to mid 70s as we progress through the weekend and into early next week. Now, take a look at these temperatures. This is significant for our corn and soybean farmers in the Carolinas because look at what's happening in the north central plains where there was a major deficit in this area of growing degree day units. You're looking at on the left Saturday morning's lows and on the right Sunday morning's lows. And we're going to be bringing freezing temperatures potentially all the way into Iowa with this next system and as far south as the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. Now to show you one individual model run, watch the front push through here. There it goes, screaming through. And what I want to do is get you into Saturday morning right there. That is where we see the most aggressive forecast here from the GFS, bringing those cold temperatures not only through Wisconsin and Iowa, but into Missouri and Illinois and maybe even Indiana. And this would be close to on time for our first normal frost in this area, but the problem is how late that corn and soybean crop was planted. You can see the cool air tries to make it to the East Coast, but temperatures slowly start to rebound, and which means we're going to be seeing seasonable to at times slightly above average temperatures. Now, is there anything going on out in the oceans that could be problematic for us? Right now, the answer to that is no. We're watching a couple of areas, but no major development over the next 5, even out to the next 10 days that could be quite upsetting here to the Carolina coast. So we've slid into a quieter time period here as the second half of the hurricane season has moved through. Now, speaking of tropical cyclones, out in the Pacific Ocean, we have this massive typhoon that is forecast by about end of this week to be hitting Japan. So you can see it in through here targeting Japan, although that again is about 7 days away before it gets there. My concern for us in the Carolinas is what happens when this gets into the jet stream flow, because as it does that, well, this is what we're going to have to watch for. First, here's the trough sweeping through the midsection of the country, causing all the problems for us. But on Friday, you can start to see it. See that feature right there? That is our typhoon that's going to get tucked away in this trough. Now, why are we watching this? Well, as it gets pulled in, there it is. It's now fully into that trough. It's going to move into the Bering Sea. And as it moves into the Bering Sea here, we're going to get this low over high over low pattern stacked up in the Pacific Ocean. And at that same time, our upper level trough that we had from our storm system at the end of this upcoming week, well, early next week will be tucked between the Great Lakes and the Northeast. So a cooler time period in store here. And the question is, how long does it last? Because getting into next week, I see a lot of seasonable temperatures, maybe even at times some cooler weather that could be setting up in this area. Now, when we look at it in terms of precipitation, there's also good news to that pattern. This is week 2. This is only week 2 precipitation. And what we don't see finally is all of these drier colors setting up across this section of the U.S. I'm anticipating a much more active storm track and more chances for rainfall in this corridor as we push through the week 2 forecast. Notice what our temperatures do too. Yep, the cool down's coming in the 6 to 10 day time period, which will be welcomed after what we experienced a while ago. The Carolinas, again, we're much closer to average though than points to our north and west. In the 11 to 15 day time period, we can see, again, much closer to average, which means we're sliding into fall without the temperature extremes we had seen throughout much of summer and early fall. Now, bigger picture features I want you to all be paying attention to. Much of what is going on in the U.S. weather patterns right now is actually being dominated by what's happening over in the Indian Ocean. And it's pretty rare that I have to say that. But you see these cool waters tucked away north of Australia and into Indonesia? They're causing a very strong easterly wind. That's a wind out of the east, producing a lot of thunderstorm activity in this quarter. I'll put an X in it there. Now, what that's doing is that's causing winds over here to be anomalously from the west. And that is warming up the ocean here, which is one of our El Nino regions. And that's why we've seen a rebound in ocean temperatures. And we're kind of faked out here to think that El Nino has returned. Well, there's 2 consequences to this. One is in South America, and the second will be this. If this water continues to warm up, I'll put a W in it here, this could set us up with a very active subtropical jet stream. And if that happens, that makes this section of the United States kind of under the gun for active weather as we move into fall and eventually into winter. So it could be a very hasty and tough start to our winter if this is the dominating factor moving forward. Well, in South America, we're thinking about cotton, corn, and soybeans going in first. Over the next 15 days, while it is wet in parts of the Amazon, we can see that eastern Brazil is forecast to continue to stay quite dry. And even in parts of Mato Grosso, which is right here, the biggest soybean and cotton producing state, that particular area is still in delay of getting this crop growing, 3 weeks behind where they were a year ago at this time. They're waiting on about 2 inches of rainfall to really get things going. I've outlined in black where I think their model is too wet, so they have a wet bias here. And I am seeing a pretty big push of some colder air coming into Argentina and southern Brazil in the 5 to 10 day time period, which has got a lot of folks fearing kind of a late spring. Okay, remember it's spring down there, a late spring cold air event that they're going to have to deal with. So this is just pointing toward delays in South America that'll be significant for the crops that are in competition with what we grow here in the U.S. To finish it up, brand new long-range model updates. I'm going to take you straight out to the month of November here and December here. We're looking at precipitation anomalies. Unlike summer, our longer range European model is picking up on a wetter pattern in through this area. And I do believe that right now that is dependent on the strong subtropical jet stream flow that the Indian Ocean is advertising right now for us and the Central Pacific is advertising. So this would be an interesting end of the season here as we progress into fall and early winter, with now going back over to a very wet pattern. So 2019 has been one of extremes in terms of both heat and drought, and then right back over here it looks like over toward a wetter pattern as we progress again into November and December. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrient Ag Solutions and at the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina, I want to thank you for your attention. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.